Greetings and welcome to online lecture series of HVAC and R. Now we are starting the unit number 5, that is heat transmission through building structures. In commercial term, it is also called as envelope load. As far as the air conditioning load is concerned, envelope load plays a significant contribution. Almost 25 to 30% load is due to heat transmission through walls, roofs, floors happens in most of the air conditioning systems. Especially it is considerable in commercial buildings, because in commercial buildings, the entire day hours utilized for the air conditioning applications. Uh, that's In this particular unit, we are going to study main two important methods of estimating the envelope load, that is decrement factor and time lag, and secondly the CLTD, that is cooling load temperature differential method. It is also called as ETD, that is equivalent temperature differential method. So today's lecture, we will learn some of the basics of heat load estimation in building structures, that is introductory part. We are going to cover solar radiation. What are the different terms of solar radiation, different components of solar radiation, then heat gain through fenestrations. Fenestration is nothing but the glass assembly. The windows and glass assembly is called as a fenestration. So how the heat gain occurs due to this fenestration. Then space load characteristics, that means the different components of space load. Then overall heat transmission coefficient, air spaces, and solar air temperatures. Most of the contents I have taken from the CP Aurora book, which is already shared on Genomia Moodle in the announcement section. As far as solar radiation is concerned, from the outside the Earth's atmosphere, the solar heat reaches any part of the Earth's surface in two ways. A part of the sun's radiation travels through the atmosphere and reaches the Earth's surface directly, and this part is called as a direct or beam radiation. So beam radiation is the radiation which directly comes on the Earth's surface, that is called as a beam or direct radiation. It is specular in nature and is incident on a surface at an angle which is determined by the line joining the center of the sun to the center of the Earth's surface. Thus, if the orientation of the surface is changed, this radiation can be increased or decreased. It is maximum when the surface is normal to the sun's rays and zero when the surface is parallel to them. A major part of the sun's radiation is scattered, reflected back into the space and absorbed by the Earth's atmosphere. A part of this radiation is re-radiated and reaches the Earth's surface uniformly from all directions, and such radiation is called as a diffuse radiation or diffuse or sky radiation. It is diffuse in nature and doesn't normally change with the orientation of the surface. So normally the radiation which directly comes onto the Earth's surface or directly come onto the surface, that is called as a direct radiation or beam radiation. And diffuse radiation means it is some radiation is reflected back to the atmosphere, or it is on the atmosphere or in the Earth's surface, some radiation is absorbed by the Earth's surface. So in that case, that radiation is uniformly distributed over the atmosphere and it doesn't change with the direction. So that radiation is called as a diffuse radiation. It may be horizontal. This is horizontal diffuse radiation, circumsolar diffuse radiation, isotropic diffuse radiation, reflected diffuse radiation. So all these components are diffuse radiation, and that is also called as the sky radiation because this radiation is uniformly distributed from the sky. It is not come directly from the sun's surface. So these are the two components of the radiation. The total solar radiation reaching a surface is equal to the sum of direct and diffuse radiations. The difference between the solar radiation outside the Earth's surface and the total radiation reaching the Earth's surface is governed by the distance traveled by the radiation through the atmosphere to reach the surface and the amount of haze. Haze is nothing but a cloud in the atmosphere. So it mainly depends on the cloud in the atmosphere. The sky radiation is usually a very small part of the total radiation in the clear sky. But with the hazy or cloudy sky, the sky radiation increases because during the cloudy season, the radiation is not enter back to the stratosphere. It remains in the Earth's surface. That's why its quantity is more. While the direct radiation is depleted considerably in the, so exactly the reverse thing happened in the cloudy atmosphere. Diffuse radiation quantity is more. In the clear atmosphere, direct radiation quantity is more. So as far as direct radiation on a surface is concerned, uh, it is estimated mainly because of the intensity of direct solar radiation incident on a surface. It can be determined if the intensity ion normal to the sun's rays and the angle of incident at the point under considerations are known. Means if ion and angle known to us, then we can calculate this radiation. The direct radiation ID then is equal to the component of ion perpendicular to the given surface. So this is a surface and perpendicular surface, this component of ion, that is ion cos theta. So that is equal to ID. So the direct radiation can be obtained by using this formula. So it is given by this formula. It is a normal component of the ion perpendicular to the given surface. So in this way we can calculate. This is incident radiation on the surface, and its component is nothing but the direct radiation received by the surface. Diffuse sky radiation on the other side, as stated earlier, a large portion of direct solar radiation is either absorbed by the either absorbed or scattered by the constituents of the Earth's atmosphere. A part of this radiation also reaches the Earth in the form of diffuse radiation. A diffuse sky radiation mostly consists of short wave radiation, as it is more radially scattered by the atmosphere. Also, as it is non-directional in nature, it is difficult to analyze it. The measurements show that the diffuse sky radiation for a clear days is given approximately by the equation ID is equal to C ion into FSS. FSS is one factor and C is a coefficient of diffuse radiation, and it also varies with the days. So generally it on the 21st of every month, if it is recorded, it is highest on 21st July and it is lowest on December 21st. So this radiation is highest during July season, especially it is the maximum in July 21st and the lowest on December 21st. So this way we can calculate diffuse radiation. A variation in solar intensity with altitude or of a space. So solar intensity also varies with altitude or angle. So as the altitude increases, solar intensity increases. So you can say for a particular angle, so solar intensity increases with the increasing altitude, and the solar intensity also decreases with increasing angle. So it is highest at 10 degree. So as the angle, solar altitude angle increases, means this is generally close to the normal. Its magnitude of the solar intensity decreases. So solar intensity is also a function of altitude as well as solar angle. Now we'll see the heat gain through fenestration. Fenestration is the assembly of window glass structure. So this is a glass of temperature Tg, and the radiation is incident on the surface. Some radiation is reflected out, some is absorbed, some is transmitted. So how to calculate the total heat gain in the space due to this fenestration assembly. So glass construction forms a significant part of modern building structures because most of the modern structures, the glass structure is, for aesthetic point of view, it is a significant component, or we can call it as the essential component. It is therefore important to study how a space gains heat through a glass, and this is shown in figure. Solar radiation, which is incident on the glass surface, it has two components, direct and diffuse component. Incident upon a glass surface is in the part of transmitted. Some heat is transmitted inside the room because it is a transparent surface. That's why some radiation is transmitted to the space. Some radiation is absorbed and some radiation is reflected. So according to Kirchhoff's law, so the total radiation is equal to 1, that is transmittivity absorptivity and reflectivity, that is equal to 1. The heat gain of a space through glass then comprises, so the heat gain because of this fenestration assembly is then comprises all the transmitted radiation, a part of absorbed radiation that travels to the room, and heat transmitted due to difference between the temperature, that is outside temperature and inside temperature. So these are the three components which contribute to the heat gain to the space. The direct radiation enters the space only if the glass is receiving the direct rays of sun. If it receiving direct rays, then and then direct radiation is present. If it is not directly receiving the solar radiation, then the direct radiation is absent. The diffuse radiation enters the space even when the glass is not facing the sun. So it is always present during the day hours because it is a diffuse radiation. So it comes uniformly from the surface. If we consider a glazed, double glazed windows, because this is a considerable heat transmission. So outside 100% radiation, if it is fall on the outside glass surface. So if we go for this double glazed windows, or we can say window glazing, then the almost 50% solar radiation is reflected and only 7% is transmitted. So diffuse radiation is also 20%, 22% is reflected, and only 14% diffuse radiation come inside. So overall, there is a total solar heat transmission is only 21%, or almost 79% heat is reflected out. So that's why most of the modern buildings, even 36% heat is absorbed. Most of the modern buildings are provided with such type of glazed windows to minimize the solar heat gain through this fenestration material. The absorbed radiation raises the temperature of the glass, and the glass then transmit this heat partly to the outside and partly to the inside. Thus, if we see this particular figure, if the absorbed radiation, due to absorbed radiation, the glass temperature increases, and this glass is exposed to the outside air as well as inside air. So partly heat is released to the outside air, and some part is released to the inside air. Thus, from figure, if Tg represents the temperature of the glass, then the heat gain of space is given by. So this is a formula of heat gain in the space. So the first term indicates that is A sun, that is area which is exposed to the sun. Then transmittivity, that is tau d. Capital D is the transmittivity, I d is the direct solar incidence on the surface. So this component is direct radiation. The second component is diffuse radiation. In that case, the entire area of the glass surface is taken. And the third component which contributes, that is the difference between the, that is the heat transmitted to the conduction from the, or convection from the inner surface, that is Tg minus Ti. So Fi is the heat transfer coefficient inner side, and A is the area. So there are three components of the heat gain through this fenestration structure. And you can see where Fi is the inside film coefficient of heat transfer, and the subscript capital D and small d denotes the term for direct and diffuse radiations respectively. Only in direct radiation, the area is considered, that is area which is exposed to the sun. So A sun is the glass area directly exposed to the sun, and A is the total area of the glass surface area. So for diffuse radiation, the entire glass area is considered, but for direct radiation or beam radiation, only the area which is exposed to the sun is considered. Now, if you write the steady state energy balance equation for glass sheet itself, considering both sides, now you can say some area, this is area of the sun. A is absorptivity due to direct radiation, I is the incident radiation. So this component is the radiation absorbed by the glass, plus radiation absorbed due to diffusion, radiation absorbed due to direct direct radiation or beam radiation. So this equal to the heat dissipation. Some heat is dissipated to inside area. So this component is the heat dissipation due to convection from the inside surface. And the second term is the heat diffusion due to convection to the outside area. So these are the two equations. Now where FO is the outside film coefficient of the heat transfer. So this is the energy balance for the absorption things. So absorption of heat in the glass, that is first due to direct radiation and second due to diffuse radiation, and that is equal to heat dissipation. So heat gained by the glass, that is equal to heat lost by the glass. So this is energy balance. Now the equation to the left hand side we already represented this heat gain of glass due to absorption, and the right hand side that is represent the heat loss by convection and radiation from its two surfaces. If in the equation the thermal resistance of the glass has been neglected, now the thermal resistance, that is conductive resistance, is neglected. So we have to eliminate a Tg from both equations, equation 1 and 2. So we resolve the equation 2 and develop equation Tg in terms of other parameter. So if rearranging equation 2, we'll get this equation. So further rearranging the, so now we can put this Tg equation in equation 1 here and rearranging. So that we get, so Q dot in, that is equal to this term is as it is. So FIA, so this term is nothing but Tg minus FIA Ti. Now if we go on resolving this particular equation and simplifying the equation, we arrive to the term. So after simplification, so we arrive at this particular term. So this term we can call as, instead of this, we can call it as U, because this is 1 upon U. If we neglect the heat transfer coefficient, or neglect the conductive resistance. So instead of this, we can put 1 upon U. So that is UATO minus Ti. That is outer surface temperature and inner surface temperature. So this is another term. So there are four terms associated with Q in, where U is the overall heat transfer coefficient, and which is given by this. So instead of this, we can put 1 upon U. So if we consider the thermal conductance, we can use the modified equation. In this equation, we have also considered the glass resistance, that is conductive resistance of the glass. So it is seen from this equation 3 that the first two terms represent the transmitted radiation. So this is a transmitted radiation. And the third term, so this part is transmitted radiation, that is transmitted radiation due to direct radiation or diffuse radiation. The third term represent the portion of the radiation absorbed by the glass. So this is an absorption component, portion of the radiation absorbed by the glass, travel to the root. And the last term represent the heat transmission by conduction, convection, and radiation due to temperature difference on the two sides. So this particular equation is used to calculate the heat gain due to fenestration, or heat gain to a glass structure. Then another terminology is that is overall heat transfer coefficient. Overall heat transfer coefficient wall. Generally, our construction wall, it mainly consists of composite wall, consists of many sections of different construction material, insulating material. Also, outside and inside wall surfaces may exchange heat by convection and radiation with the surrounding atmosphere. Thus, there will be more than one thermal resistance to heat transfer. Taking into account the number of layers of different materials with varying thicknesses, varying thickness X and the thermal conductivity K, we have for overall heat transfer coefficient, and overall thermal resistance R is given by. So this is overall heat transfer coefficient, and which is given by this equation, where this component is the convective component, convective resistance. This is conductive resistance. This is a capacitance from other materials, and Fi. So you can see above equation, the C is has been included, which are equivalent to the value of K by delta X for a material, because some construction material is used. For some materials such as plasters, hollow tiles, etc. Data are available in the form of conductance C instead of thermal conductivity K. So most of the data is available in the tabular form. Uh, these values of C are only applicable to the prescribed thickness X. So, and also FO and FI in the equation represent the heat transfer coefficients for combined convection and radiation from the outside and inside wall surfaces respectively. These terms are also called as the surface conductances. So FO and FI, they are also called as surface conductance. So most simplified form equation generally used in solving problem is this. But in micro level, especially while designing, calculating U at the commercial level, this component is also considered. So this is a typical wall structure which consists of brick structure. Then in sometimes the air gap is also present. Insulation is also provided and the concrete material. And sometimes plaster is also used. So these are the various resistances for the heat flow. And obviously the heat is flow from high temperature to low temperature. This is outside and also inside. So especially this is a winter condition, we can say. So in that the heat is transferred from inside to outside. This is about the overall heat transmission coefficient and how to calculate this. As usual, the wall structure here, A is eliminated because the area is same in all cases. So unlike the pipe U expression where the U is essential, it is always, in case of pipe, U is always in terms of either inner surface area or outer surface area. So accordingly, the suffix is used. But for the wall structure, this equation is area is common to all surfaces. These are some average values through a building structures. So for roof structure, pitch roof structures like that, it is 0.16. Then walls for 0.21. For average values for doors and windows is generally 1.6, is comparatively higher here. So because the direct heat is transmitted, that's why average values. So, but most of the wall structure, that is 0.21, 0.16 like that. So various locations, the heat, how the overall heat transfer coefficient values are considered. So the average values of 0.16 to 0.21, except the doors and windows. Space load characteristics. The major components of load in buildings are due to the direct solar radiation through the waste glass, transmission through the building fabric or structure, and fresh air for ventilation. In the case of applications such as theaters and auditorium, the occupancy load is mainly predominant. But in general, there are different components that may cause, that may includes in cooling load are first external factors are there: walls, roofs, windows, partitions, ceilings. These are the external factors. As far as internal factors are concerned, the lights, people, occupancy, appliances, and equipments are considered. Infiltration, that is air leakages and moisture migration through cracks and doors and windows. System load is also considered, that is because outside fresh air is considered, that is called as a ventilation load. So that also gains some heat fans or other equipments also gains heat. So these are the four main components of space load, and generally the space load is calculated by using these factors. But our main focus on this chapter is calculate this external load, because most of the part you already learned in third year syllabus, that is cooling load estimation. Now in this particular topic, we mainly focus on the external load, that is building transmission load. So this is a typical heat sources for building from outside, as the convection air leakages, that is infiltration load, heat conduction through walls, and the solar heat radiations. These are the different components of external load. Yeah. Airspaces that we have seen there, that construction of many structures include an airspace between the wall materials. And this airspace may be narrow, such as a cavity of 5 centimeter or less. like this. So such cavity is generally provided. It is narrow, at 5 centimeter or less. Uh, in a 55 centimeter thick wall, or a large such as the airspace of void between the flat ceiling and a pitch roof. So this is a pitch roof. So through this also the air spaces are there. The airspace helps to reduce the heat transfer, obviously, because air has a low thermal conductivity. So it helps to reduce the heat transfer and thus acts as an insulation. The heat transfer is generally affected by surface emissivities and the width and orientation of the air spaces. So mainly emissivity part is important. A greater natural convection results when airspace is vertical than when it is horizontal or sloping. So if the vertical is there, then the natural convection currents develops and the greater natural convection happens. When the surfaces are close together, the natural air movement is suppressed and the heat is by conduction alone. The thickness being very small, the resistance of the gap is very low and the conduction is very high. As the width, suppose as the width of the gap increases, the conduction component of the heat transfer decreases rapidly. So this is the conduction component because most of the things as the airspace in gap increases, mainly it is in the form of natural convection. So overall heat transfer coefficient is so especially conduction component of the heat transfer decreases rapidly to the extent that it becomes negligible, but the convection comes into play as a result of which the overall conductance of the gap is not decreased very much. This is illustrated in figure. So after some distance, so the heat transfer, because as the gap increases, the heat transfer rate decreases because of the convection, and because convection current enhances so because of that the gap increases, the heat transfer coefficient. So from this particular point, there is no substantial rise happens because from this point up to 3, we can say. So it is seen that for a gap of more than 2.5 centimeters, suppose from the gap of more than 2.5 centimeters, there is hardly any improvement in the insulation characteristics of the gap, because after that the convection plays important role. The airspaces. This is due to the increasing internal convection. So from this particular point, the internal convection increases. And the conductive heat transfer is insignificant in this particular case. And the convective coefficient reaches a constant value or a gap of 3 mm almost, 3 centimeter and more. The heat transfer may therefore be considered mainly due to convection and radiation from this particular point. So if the thickness increases beyond 3 centimeters, the dominant heat transfer is convection radiation. So that's why almost the overall heat transfer rate remains constant. There is no further decrease of convection, no further insulating characteristic it loses. So it is recommended to have the gap up to this particular level. Okay, so beyond this, the gap is of or is insignificant. It doesn't take part in blocking the heat transfer rate. It also varies with the delta T, as the delta T between outside and inside surface is more. Obviously, the overall heat transfer coefficient is high. And so 5 degrees Celsius and 10 degrees Celsius. So this is about the air spaces. It is purposely provided in the building in order to block the rate of heat transfer, because it acts as an insulation, but it is recommended to have a thickness up to 2.5 centimeter of the air spaces. This is a periodic heat transfer variation through walls and roofs. So generally this is a variation of temperature, outside temperature. So from the midnight to midnight, 24 hours. So generally the solar radiation is present only in day hours. So for example, 5 to 6 a.m. to almost 6 to 7 p.m. So during this period, it continuously increases. It reaches the peak generally at around 12 to 1 p.m. So this is incident radiation on the surface. This is direct radiation because incident radiation component is direct. So obviously the component of direct radiation is smaller than incident radiation. And this is diffuse radiation. So diffuse radiation contribution is very less. It is generally increases with increasing the cloudiness of the atmosphere, and this decay, but it is always less than the direct beam radiation. So the temperature variation, if you see again at midnight, generally at 3 to 4 a.m. it is lowest. It decreases because of the diffusion things. Then it as the sun rises, the temperature goes up. It reaches the peak generally at 4 to 5. The peak heat transfer takes place. That is the temperature. This is on the summer side. So it may reaches to 40, 45 degrees Celsius. That is generally the heat outside temperature is reaches, especially if at the 4 to 5, and then it decreases outside air temperature. So this is a variation of radiation as well as the outside air temperature. Just we are going to study this even while solving the problem. Then soil air temperature is one of the important terminologies because for calculation of heat transfer through this structure, it has been found convenient to combine the effect of outside air temperature and incident solar radiation intensity into a single quantity. So because generally on the outside surface, the heat is transmitted due to convection as well as radiation. So both components are combined in a single entity that is called as solar air temperature. So for the purpose and expression for the rate of heat transfer for the environment to the outside surface of the wall may be written. So this is the outside surface of the wall. This TO is the outside air temperature. I is the incident radiation on the wall surface. QO is the heat transfer from outside surface, and FO is the heat transfer coefficient. So we can calculate the heat transfer from outside surface is given by the expression, that is heat convected out, FO into TO minus TSO. In that case, obviously the air temperature is greater than the surface temperature, plus the radiation absorbed by the surface. So this is a solid surface, so the radiation absorbed by the surface, that is absorptivity into I. So this is heat transfer to the outside surface. Call this equation number 1. So we can see where FO is the outside film coefficient of heat transfer. TSO is the temperature of the outside surface. A is the absorptivity of the surface, and I is the total radiation intensity as shown in figure. Now we can, same equation we can write because all these terms we can write in terms of solar air temperature, which is given by H delta T. Area is uniform. That small q term we generally use for the heat flux, heat transfer rate per unit area. So that is equal to heat transfer coefficient, outside heat transfer coefficient F into T minus TSO. So T is the solar air temperature, which takes into account the convective heat transfer as well as radiation heat transfer. So combined effect it takes into account. So from this we can in order to develop equation of T, we can combine equation 1 and 2. So from 1 and 2, we can develop equation of T. So that is outside air temperature into, this is the component of convection and radiation. So outside air temperature plus this component, that gives you solar air temperature. This temperature T is called as solar temperature and can be considered as an equivalent outside air temperature, such that the total heat transferred is the same as due to the combined effect of incident solar radiation and outside air and the wall temperature difference. So this is E expression that we are going to use this in both methods, that is CLTD and decrement factor time lag method. How to calculate? We just take a simple problem. So calculate the instantaneous solar air temperature for a wall with the following condition. The total direct and diffuse solar radiation is given, that is 260 watt per meter square. So I value is given. Absorptivity of the surface is given. Outside surface heat transfer coefficient is given 23. So obviously it is windy atmosphere outside, because heat transfer coefficient is generally for steel air is less than 10. Outside air temperature is also given. So outside air temperature is 35 degrees Celsius given, absorptivity is given, incident radiation is also given, and heat transfer coefficient. So if the outside temperature is 35 degrees Celsius, actually solar air temperature is 45 degrees Celsius. So which takes into account the solar radiation as well as convection heat transfer as well. This is simple numerical. These are some of the values of surface heat transfer coefficient, FO or FI. It varies with emissivity as well, because as the emissivity decreases, the surface heat transfer coefficient, because the decreasing emissivity means the smoother the surface. Smoother the surface, that lower the heat transfer coefficient. So heat transfer coefficient decreases because of smoothness of the surface, and as the surface becomes smooth, the emissivity also decreases. So it is also varies with the air. Still air it is less, and for some moving air it is comparatively high because of the convection principles. Convection heat transfer coefficient increases with increasing velocity. It also varies with the orientation as well. So horizontal case, and when the direction of heat flow is upward, obviously due to natural convection, heat transfer coefficient is more. And if it is downward, it is less, the same orientation. And for vertical, for horizontal, it is in between, that is 8.5. So these are some values of heat transfer coefficient. So generally it is taken around 5 to 10 watt per meter square Kelvin for still air, and for windy air or some moving air, then it is considered as 20 to 30 or 40. So that's it. This is the introductory portion. At the end of this particular session, you should be able to describe the different components of solar radiation, then how to calculate the heat through fenestrations. Then you should be able to illustrate different components of space load. There are 4 components we have discussed. Then you should be able to explain what the air spaces which are provided, the variation with the thicknesses, the rate of mode of heat transfer changes from conduction to convection as the thickness increases. You should be able to determine the solar air temperature for the given condition. So in order to calculate solar air temperature, we mainly require the outside air temperature, then solar intensity, absorptivity, and outside heat transfer coefficient. So next lecture we will discuss important method of calculating the heat transmission through building structure, that is decrement factor and time lag. Thank you very much.